Welcome back to Shot Selection. I am here for part 2 with the flashy, confident Junaid Bostan. How are you, mate?
How are
you good? You all right?
Good. I'm all right. Just like we haven't been talking for this.
Yeah, right. So look, for this episode, I want to talk about, well, I guess what everyone's been really impressed with is the way you approach fights, the confidence that you have. But for me, what I've been so impressed with is the way that you switch it.
Yeah.
It's something that I feel watching you seems to come across really natural. But I think for a lot of fighters growing up, being taught the proper way, I never got taught how to switch it. How did that come about?
I mean, I was getting taught from a very young age to be ambidextrous, and I am ambidextrous, so I switch it with ease. It doesn't take much thought to do so. Being in the English gym from the early days, and then being with Grant from the age of 12, it's matured me into like polishing it up and being a southpaw fighter, an orthodox fighter, knowing when to use it and know when to not use it.
Before we go into the switch hitting, could you fight as an orthodox?
Yeah, definitely.
You could do a whole fight.
Definitely, and southpaw, definitely. But it's knowing when.
Yeah, but predominantly you're a southpaw, right?
Well, I'm left-handed, but it's just wherever I feel comfortable at. I just go as it goes.
So look, you're in your southpaw stance, so the fight starts, okay?
It sizes me up now.
Right, it's too young and fresh for me. I'll get pasted. But what is the thought pattern for you going into a fight, thinking, right, at what stage do you think I'm going to switch it now? Or is it just a natural thing you don't even think about?
Natural. First of all, it's natural. I'll read the fight as it goes along, but I just read as it goes along. Wherever I feel comfortable, I'll just go in that position. So
the most important shot in boxing, most people would agree with this, is the jab. Yeah. Is there a preference with the jab that you prefer to throw out of either stance?
Nah, definitely not so. Like I said, I feel comfortable at both stances, so it just matters on the person who I've got in front of me. If I hit him with my orthodox jab, I'm going to prefer that a lot more than my southpaw jab. So.
But you are left-handed.
Yes.
So you're always looking for that left backhand predominantly. Would you rather that be your big shot after the jab?
I feel like I hit harder with my right hand straight. That's my opinion, but I seem to be putting a lot of people out with my left hand, so I don't know.
From the first episode, talking to Dalton about fighting a southpaw, when you're in either stance, say you're in an orthodox stance, are you, and you're fighting a southpaw, how are you trying to use that front foot? Are you trying to get it on the outside or on the inside?
Everyone assumes that you've got to get the foot.
Well, I was the same there. I used to vary it, but
everyone assumes that you've got to get the foot on the outside, but I just believe you read it. It's subjective, isn't it? Sometimes if you look for it too much, you'll commit, and then you're committing too much and they'll catch you in the middle, so it just depends really. But obviously, ideally, when you're starting off, if I was to teach a kid and they'll fight the southpaw, I would say get your foot on the outside, but it's knowing how to get on the outside, because you can force it that much so that you're getting caught forcing it.
So there's no real conscious thought about where the front foot should be in either stance?
No, definitely not. Like I've said before, I've been boxing since a young age, so I feel myself very comfortable being in the ring and reading it as it's going on. I feel like I can read a fight very, very well, and I trust my ability in doing that and adapting. Right,
so I'm coming forward to you. I'm your opponent. What is the thought pattern? How are you actually switching? So you're starting from an orthodox stance here. I'm coming forward. At what point are you thinking, right, I'll switch? So I'm coming forward, you're moving.
So you don't ideally want to be switching in front of them.
Right, okay. So you want to give yourself space.
Ideally, if you're going to switch, I'm not saying it's the best idea to switch at that time, but if you are to switch at that point, you want to keep it.
Show me.
See there and then there and then.
And are you thinking about shots right now as you're moving? You thinking about I might draw him into an uppercut, a left hook?
Definitely, or even so closing the gap, because everyone assumes like you've got to keep the distance the same, whereas sometimes if you're on the ropes or whatever, sometimes it's better to keep the gap close.
So when you was moving there and you're switching, you just said then that Grant sometimes tells you off for switching too much.
Yeah, definitely, but that's my point, is that I don't put much thought into it. It's like I'll feel comfortable switching, so I'll switch, but sometimes it's not necessarily ideal, so I just follow Grant's orders, really.
Who are your sort of heroes, idols growing up who switched it? And straight away, as I was saying, I'm thinking of Naz.
Naz, yeah, definitely, yeah. I'd be stupid not to say Nassim Ahmed. I liked Keith Galahad growing up, obviously. I was training when I was a young age, so I did look up to him. Who else? Hector Camacho, he's southpaw.
Yeah, very good.
Mel Whitaker, he was southpaw. There's a lot of fighters. Caleb Plant, I like Caleb Plant right now. He's doing very well. Jaron Ennis, he's a welterweight, so he might move up though. So can't say too much about him yet. But yeah, he's very good. There's a lot of fighters what I look at and I think, yeah, he's very good. And I just read a lot. I just watch a lot of boxing, read a lot of boxing. So it's like you see it by situation. You know that you can take things in pieces from people.
And when you're in the gym with Grant, you're doing pads. Obviously on the bag, you're switching all the time. Is Grant switching with you as he's doing the pads? Are you constantly switching on the pads with him, or will he have you fighting out of a particular stance?
I think his job is just to do it as the fight will do it. So I don't necessarily think that he'll switch if I switch. I think he'll stay in whatever my opponent will be in. And another fight I've missed out is Sonny Edwards. Obviously.
But you got to say that now in your gym, mate. Yeah.
Definitely though. Like he's a switcher and he's very good at it. So I've learned a lot from him coming up subconsciously.
So finally, Junaid, so any young fighters out there who perhaps are thinking about adding switch hitting into their game, what kind of advice would you give them?
I'd advise the more you do something, the better you'll become. So it's like constant repetition. I know what helped me was doing the blows, the lines in the gym. That helped a lot. So it's just literally constantly working it. And obviously balance. I think balance is the main part. Everyone always assumes like throwing punches is obviously the aim of the game of the boxing, but it all starts with your feet. So I'd advise on working on your balance, feeling comfortable within your stances, both southpaw and orthodox. So the more you work on these things, the better you'll become. And then obviously progressively, we'll bring it into sparring and then hopefully fights.